24. I bet you don't remember what you did that day, and neither do I. But thank goodness that Instagram takes account of all times and dates when we make posts on that respective network. And on that particular day, Brittany Renner shocked the world when she said this.
What made you choose Islam? I didn't. I am a human with very limited power and awareness, but I have learned that God selects who he wills for his mercy.
The caption for that post that she's read was, Allah chose me. And this was interesting because many people came into that post in the comment section with some level of support and gratitude for her conversion, while others believed that it was all a scam. It wasn't so many months ago that Brittany Renner was drunk and basically twerking on Charleston White, and now all of a sudden.
Salam alaikum, salaikum salam, brother. Hello? The internet is such a fickle place where people like Brittany Renner can go and be thought and doing absolute degeneracy to turning their lives around, air quotes, and choosing a religion. And after they choose said religion, they decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to then revert back to degeneracy. Then you always have to ask yourself, is being a degenerate more than just a lifestyle? Is it a disease? Because it wasn't that long ago that she had said all this. And then now she's right back into degeneracy. I can only think, because we haven't seen the rest of the video, right? So I can only assume that she reverted back to her old ways. So I guess it's more than a lifestyle. It has to then be a mindset and also a parasitic entity. That's it. That's all I can say on the subject, is that.
Sudden, Brittany Renner is a Muslim. And then, of course, brother started wanting to see what was going on with that, and we started to see if she would slip out on Instagram. And did she do it? No, she didn't. She was always covered up, dressed modestly. And then we all wanted to know about Brittany Renner's dating life.
I have not been on a date since I've been Muslim. Now, there have been plenty of married Muslim men in my DMs, and just because it's permissible does not mean I have to sign up for it. I didn't come this far to be one of several, so let's be very crystal clear on that. When you go without sex for an extended amount of time and you are honoring yourself in a way that you never have before, you really start to see where people are leaking their energy, where they lack discipline.
It's interesting that she would say that because all of a sudden she was aware that the people that were trying to talk to her, they had bad energy and they lacked discipline. She wasn't going to be a co-wife for just anybody or at all because, hey, she was going to make a dating choice. It was going to be the right one. And to our knowledge, Brittany Renner made this choice most likely when she converted to Islam and just didn't want to tell anybody because shortly thereafter, we started to see her make appearances with Kevin Gates. And the next thing you know, they were official. Kevin Gates and Brittany Renner were a couple. Let's stop the show. There's an issue. Wasn't Kevin Gates?
Stop! Stop. I was waiting for the ball to drop, for the degeneracy ball to drop. Like it was New Year's Eve in New York, 1989. I was waiting for the ball to drop. Where is the degeneracy going to come in? When is the dumb thing when is it going to be revealed? And here it is. The two most degenerate people on the internet coming together. So I had said this the other day. I was having a conversation and I was saying that, you know what? Money really isn't a factor when it comes down to it. Hold up. Listen to me for a second. Let me cook. Let him cook. Let him cook. What I'm saying is, when it comes down to it, I don't really think money plays a factor like most people would assume it does. And what I mean by that is, I think when it comes to two people coming together, I think it has more to do with frequency. Who are these two individuals and how do they bind together? It's based off frequency, all right? Just like when the baddie is with a broke nigga or a broke nigga is with a baddie. You ask yourself, how did this happen? It's because they're on the same frequency. It didn't necessarily matter that they had money or not. That's not the issue. The issue is that they're of the same cloth. Huh?
Gates already married?
Damn!
Yeah, he was married to Drika Gates. And in fact, he is still legally married to Drika Gates. But we saw Brittany Renner and Kevin Gates in a relationship. So we didn't know if this was him taking on a second wife or if Drika was in the picture. And it definitely now appears that Drika Gates was no longer in the picture and was okay with Kevin Gates living his life. And so there Brittany Renner was going around with Kevin Gates, obviously receiving a large amount of scrutiny for dealing with a married man. And of course, everything that glitters isn't gold, because eventually we found out that this relationship was short-lived.
We got married April 6th and divorced May 28th.
So you're divorced?
Yes. But there is a 90-day waiting period in Islam where it's basically you have 90 days to see if you're pregnant, because then he would be responsible, right? And then also in those 90 days, it's for reconciliation because Allah wants you to stay married.
Just after 2 months of marriage, Brittany Renner announces the divorce, and Kevin Gates would back that up when he went to the BET Awards, and he would say that he didn't want to talk about it and all of that. And then the future for Brittany Renner was kind of up in the air. We didn't really know what was going to happen. And in fact, Brittany Renner was still making appearances just like a normal Muslim woman, and she was even talking about becoming more conservative.
People want me to hang on to my past. I don't have to. I am choosing removal. I'm choosing tattoo removal. Like, this is my choice. You're either going to suffer by making the sacrifice, or you're going to suffer because you're not sacrificing. My future self doesn't want these tattoos anymore. I'm just going a different direction. At any point in time, you can change the direction of your pen. And so I think for me, it's like peaceful, powerful, both. I can let go. Like, I don't have to hang on to it anymore.
As you can see, she talked about changing her past, and she continued to go on that tangent. Now, this is interesting because Brittany Renner, in my honest opinion, she's somewhat of a free spirit. So things like Islam or more conservative things, I would think that a person like her would have an issue with that.
She's grifting. She's grifting. Whatever the next grift is, she's just jumping on the bandwagon. That's what I was saying about when it comes down to all this internet stuff. You get known for whatever it is that you're doing, whatever your perceived excelled talent is. And then once that the attention around that starts to dry up, you kind of have to then realize, okay, am I going to keep excelling at this? Or am I going to have to do buffoonery to continue to be in the limelight, right? When it comes to, let's say, artists and musicians, your next album is what is allowing you to stay in the limelight. If it's good enough, right? If it's just relying just strictly off of the music. I think the idea of a musician was a bad example. I think the best example of relying on pure talent comes down to athletes. If you're playing the game, you're winning championships and titles, you're going to consistently be in the limelight, and people are going to say, yo, he's really good at what he does. Look, he just won a championship. Right? Am I right or am I right?
That because it is so strict. But again, this is Brittany Renner, so I believe that she feels like she's always evolving and finding her quote-unquote truth, whatever that is. And of course, we hear a lot of women, especially the younger women, always talk about finding their truth. And hey, she is changing her own past by removing those tattoos. But wait, there's more. Brittany Renner would then go on to post this on Instagram. She would post this particular photo of herself, or video of herself rather, and basically, I don't know if it's an Afro wig, but it was without the hijab. And she made a post on that, and on the song in the background was Glorilla Let Her Cook. She says this: I don't have blind loyalty to any person, place, or thing. I also don't need excuses to do what I want to do because I accept whatever comes behind my decisions. It's still alhamdulillah for everything. Hope this helps. It's interesting because people started to put their opinions about this subject.
So Brittany Renner is no longer wearing a hijab and has a full-blown afro on Instagram, and talks about on her story how she had to wear braids just to be able to fit her hair under a hijab, and she's not going to compromise or shrink herself to meet anyone's standard.
Yo, that's what I'm saying, man. It's anything you guys can grift. Anything you can grift. Whatever the latest trend is, y'all are gonna grift it online. That's why I can't respect any of these influencers, bro, because y'all are just here today, gone tomorrow with whatever the latest thing is that can keep you in relevancy and making money. This always comes up. He's gonna say, I have no loyalty to any person, place, or thing? So then why did you become Muslim, dude? What was the, what? What are you saying? So essentially being Muslim was a flavor of the month. Marrying Kevin Gates, flavor of the month. Stop it. Stop it, man. You guys are gonna get me vexed. Like, this is the kind of stuff that gets a brother mad, bro. Like, this is the kind of stuff that gets a nigga mad. When you guys start doing things like this.
There's approval, and whether it be like Islam and the culture, or acceptance from Kevin Gates, the person she's claiming she was legally married to, I'm sure that's those are one of the two references. Now, this is very interesting because people are calling BS with Brittany Renner. They're saying, hey, you took all your twerking videos down when you got with PJ Washington, and then you put them up as soon as you broke up, as soon as you're not with Kevin Gates anymore. Now you got an afro and you're like disrespecting the hijab. Some people are gonna have issues with it. Some people are gonna say, hey, she's living in the truth, and appreciate her for just being, I guess, her at every turn and corner.
And it wasn't just the guy that we saw, the content creator. It was people in the comment section. Going to hell in multiple religions is wild. Bro, put that ish back on before the women of Islam is on you. Lady Cap says, she's the definition of if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Facts.
Got him. This guy says, imagine she did this ish in Iran. Yeah, it'd be all bad. This person says, she's done cosplaying Muslim. The brother says, Kevin Gates scared you back to yourself. Individual says, don't play with God like that. The real DJ says, knew this wasn't gonna last long. You could tell it just wasn't her. Now, I want you guys to understand how Brittany Renner can do this. And I kind of want to get back to something that happened in the history of the black community. And I want to use Wu-Tang Clan as an example. RZA, who is one of the most known people of Wu-Tang Clan, is going to explain some principles that some of you may or may not know.
What the father was able to do was, through his teachings, he was able to bring out the mathematics and I think one of the most important lessons, which is called the 12 jewels. And those are knowledge, wisdom, understanding, freedom, justice, equality, food, clothing, shelter, love, peace, and happiness.
So RZA is breaking down the 12 Jews, and he mentions somebody by the name of Father Allah. Now, Father Allah, or Allah the Father, is known as Clarence 13X. Clarence 13X was a member of the Nation of Islam who was from Danville, Virginia, and then was in the New York City area, and I believe he was from Harlem. And then he was kicked out, allegedly, of the Nation of Islam for gambling. So what he did was, this particular teaching of the 12 Jews actually was a teaching that Malcolm X used to teach to ministers in the Nation of Islam, from what I understand, and it was only secret teachings that should not be put out there to the public. But what happened was Clarence 13X decided to, if you want to say, perverse the Nation of Islam teachings and take it to the kids or to the children, and started feeding the people with this information. And of course, what happened in 1969 was brutal. He was assassinated for this, right? And so when you look at the nations of gods and earth, and they have a whole lot of influence on hip hop, Nas, Jay-Z, Wu-Tang Clan, Supreme Team, 50 Cent, a lot of these guys use some of these teachings, right? Especially in the idea of the mathematics and teachings like that. Well, it's a perverse ideology of the Nation of Islam. And then some could argue that Nation of Islam is a perverted version of the Sunni original Islam. And so when you look at Brittany Renner and Kevin Gates, it's arguable that they're using a perverse religion of Islam anyway that suits them. So for her, it's okay to change the religion and make it fit her. It's no different than what Christians do all the time. I mean, you can go to some churches, stop the show, in Atlanta, and now you have two gay men that are the pastor. You have a
two body niggas are the pastor of the church. Nope. Stop it. This is what I'm saying. Y'all are playing too much, man. We're in a time where y'all are playing too much. Is nothing sacred anymore? Is religion not sacred anymore? Y'all are going around creating alternate versions of it to suit your lifestyle. The good book has already been written. It's already been written in what needs to be done and what needs to be portrayed, what is okay and what is not. How are you going to take something and then bastardize it and turn it into whatever suits you for the moment? That's wild. That's like hopping on the basketball court and saying, you know what? Today I feel like playing N1 rules, street ball rules in the NBA finals. How y'all feel about that? It's so ludicrous, dude. Like I can't. Y'all are gonna give me a brain aneurysm, though. For real.